Hey everyone, welcome back to new video. In this video, we are going to discuss about the GSTR1 in Odoo 16 accounting module. So let's see how can we manage with the GST. GSTR1 focuses on outward supplies made by the taxpayers, and GSTR1 is monthly or quarterly statements of outward supply. So do you know what is outward supply? This means supply of goods or services, whether by sale, transfer, rental, that is made in a business. In simple words, we can say that any type of sale is called an outward supply. In order to manage with the GSTR1 report, first we have to set up the Indian localization. So when you go to the configuration settings, here you can see that we have just set the Indian charts of accounts as the localization. So as you set this localization under the charts of accounts, you would be able to find all the accounts that is going to deal with the Indian localization. Now, in order to manage with the GSTR1 report, you can just move on to the reporting tab, and here you can find a section called India, where you can find the audit trail, GSTR1 and GSTR3B. So in order to manage the GSTR1 and GSTR3B, you have to enable the developer mode, which you can find over here. If you don't enable the developer mode, you can only get the audit trail. So audit trail is nothing but it is a set of records that provides the documentary evidence of the sequence of the activities that is affected at any time. So now let's see how we are going to manage the GSTR1 report. So currently we don't have any outward supplies in the month of November. And we will be discussing the business-to-business invoice, business-to-consumer, large and small, credit or debit note that is affected, export invoices, nil-rated supplies, and HSN summary of the outward supplies. Okay, so here, in order to manage with each of the outward supplies, we have to consider the GST treatment. So the GST treatment that is going to apply will be regular, special economic zone, and deemed export for the business-to-business invoice. And you can use 13 taxes with the IDs 9, 10, 11, and 18, as well as 39, 31, 32, and 30. So if you want to find the corresponding taxes of these ID, it can be found from the pie chart using a code. I will be providing the code, the query in this window. So you can use that if you want to get a particular tax. So here we can use the customers with the GST treatment deemed, or it can be a registered one, or it can be a special regular one or special economic zone. So let's discuss that. So in order to create a new invoice, you can just move on to the invoices, customer invoices, and here you would be able to find that we don't have any invoices right now. So I'm going to choose my customer right now here. So I will be using the regular customer. So you can search for the regular customer, that is registered business regular customer. So as I choose the customer, all other details will be configured here. So as you have set the GST treatment as registered business regular, that will be applied in the invoice also. And it is mandatory to set a VAT registration number for the customer. Now you can just choose a product. So let me choose a product which is customizable desk. So under the customizable desk, when you just get into the internal link of the customizable desk, here you can also find the HSN code. And that code will be used as a nomenclature and that service accounting code, and you can also provide a description for this. So it is required while we are providing the code. So that shows to which GST treatment does this product belongs to. Okay, now we don't have sufficient quantity, so let me update the quantity first. So let me update the quantity of the product to 100. Okay, you can apply that and you can set the quantities, and let's back to the draft invoice that we are in. And here you can see we have just applied a tax, and by applying the tax, the amount is just increased. And you can find the fluctuation in the price with the SGST and CGST. Now you can just confirm the invoice. So as you have just confirmed the invoice, when you just go to the audit trail, you can find that record over here. Here you can see that we have just made a invoice, and which means we have just created an invoice and we have just updated that with the untaxed amount, and here you can get that, and you will also get the updated one. And so whatever activities you are going through an invoice, everything will be recorded under the audit trail. So not only in case of the business to business invoice, it can be business to consumer, large, small, or export invoice or nil rated invoice. Every activities that affecting over the GSTR1 will be reflected under the audit trail. Okay, so you can track the finances or what mistake you have done, or if you want to do any other changes in the financial stuffs, you can just refer the audit trail. Now, we have just updated the quantity of the product and confirmed, right. So when you just move on to the reporting and just go to the GSTR1 report, you would be able to find the amount will be reflected under the business to business invoice, because we have just considered the GST treatment as regular one, that is the GST treatment as regular. Now we will be also discussing about how to apply the GST treatment as special economic zone and deemed export. Okay, so here you can find that HSN summary of the outward supply is also affected. This is because HSN summary of outward supply is a summary of supplies affected against a particular HSN code to be reported only in the summary table. It will be optional for the taxpayers having the annual turnover up to 1.5 crore, but they need to provide the information about the description of the goods. Okay, so here you can see that we have just used the customizable desk in the invoice, which has an HSN code and description. So whenever you provide the code and description of HSN in the product, then the amount will be also affected in this line. Okay, now let's move on to the invoices and let's create another invoice. So I'm going to choose the customer as deemed. So deemed export, and here we have just given all other details, and here you can set the GST treatment as deemed export. Now let me choose the product, which is customizable desk itself. So ensure that you have the quantity. Yeah, we have sufficient quantity over here. Now let's move on and let me consider the amount as 100. Okay. Now let me confirm this. So as I confirm this, under the report, you would be able to find the change. That is under the business to business invoice, you can find the change, and here also that is affected. Now let's see how can we create an invoice with the GST treatment as special economic zone. So you can consider the customer that is special economic zone, and here you can see the GST treatment that is affecting for the customer. And here I'll be choosing the product that is customizable desk with one quantity which has a price of 70. Okay, now you can just confirm the order. So as you just confirm the invoice, not the order, invoice, you would be able to find the change under the GST R1 report, and the amount is added with the previous amount, and that is affected in this report. Now let's discuss about the business to consumer large invoice. So business to consumer large invoice is nothing but when you create an invoice for the taxable outward supplies to the consumer, where the place of the supplier is other than the state where the supplier is located, that is interstate supplies, and the invoice value will be more than 2.5 lakh. In simple words, we can say that in case of business to consumer, we have to consider the customer outside of the other country than the company located state. Okay. So in this case, we also need to consider the amount must be more than 2.5 lakh. So here I'm going to consider the customer. Before that, we also need to consider certain GST treatments such as unregistered, consumer, and composition, with all the taxes such as 9, 10, 11, 18 or 39 or 31. So you can use any taxes with these IDs, and here you can see that the outward supply must be greater than 2.5 lakh. Okay, now let's consider the customer. Okay, you can consider the customer, and I'm going to choose the customer as unregistered. So here you can find the unregistered customer who is from Assam, and the company is currently located in Kerala. So we have to create a interstate supplies. So in order to create the interstate supplies, you can just go to the invoices and let's create a new one. And here you can choose the unregistered business, that is unregistered one, and you can fill out all the details, and let me choose the product which is customizable desk, and the price of the product must be greater than 2.5 lakh. So here I'm going to provide the price of the product as 5 lakh. So currently you can see that we have just set the price of the product as 5 lakh, which is a amount greater than 2.5, and you can just confirm the order. Confirm the invoice. As you just confirm the invoice, you would be able to find the change in the report that will be affected under the business to consumer. Now, you can also use different GST treatments such as consumer and composition. So, I'm not repeating all those GST treatment. It is very similar to the the creation of invoices of the business to business invoice. The only change is that you have to change the GST treatment while you create an invoice. Okay. Now we are going to discuss about the business to consumer small detail. So business to consumer small detail, in this section, this includes the outward supplies or the sales amount less than 2.5 lakh made to the consumer. So here we can consider the unregistered customer, and the amount must be less than 2.5 lakh. So let me just go to the invoices. So in this case also, we will be considering the GST treatment as unregistered, consumer or composition. So let me go to the invoices and let me consider the unregistered, unregistered business who has the unregistered treatment. So my customer has unregistered business as the GST treatment, and here you can choose the product which is customizable desk, so which has a price of 50, okay, which is less than 2.5 lakh, and here we have just applied a GST. And now let me save this invoice and confirm the invoice. So under the GST R1, you would be able to find that the amount is affected because the amount is less than 2.5 lakh, and that will be affected under the business to consumer small. Now we can also create a debit note or credit note for the registered business. Okay, so in order to do that, you can just consider the customer who has the regular registered business. So here I'm going to choose the customer as, here we can find the customer. So let me search more, and here you can find the registered business regular, and let me create the invoice, and here you can provide the amount. So I'm going to provide the amount as 1,750 with the GST, and let me save this and confirm the order. So as I confirm the order, the amount will be reflected under the business to business. Okay, and now let's create a credit note. So you can just click on create credit note and you can choose the credit note method. I will be using the full refund and new draft invoice, and we can reverse this with a journal entry date. I'm returning the product because the product is bad. So you can provide the reason over there, and you can just reverse the invoice. And when you just confirm the invoice, the change will be applied in the GSTR1 report. And here you can see we have just created a credit note for the registered business regular. Now let's see how the credit debit note is affected for the unregistered business. So you can consider the customer that is unregistered, customer with the unregistered GST treatment. So let me just create a new one. Choose the customer that is unregistered business who has the GST treatment as unregistered business. Now here, let me choose a customizable desk as a product, and here you can set the amount. So yeah, let me choose the amount here as 4 lakh, which is 4 lakh. And if you want to change the GST treatment into overseas, you can also set that. So let me choose the GST treatment as overseas, and you can save the changes. Now you can just confirm this. So we have just confirmed, and let me create a credit note. And by choosing the credit method in order to full refund and new draft invoice, and this product is very bad, and let's create a journal entry in order to reverse the date, and let's reverse that. And finally, let's confirm the invoice, and you would be able to find the change under the GST R1. So you can find that we have just created a credit note for the unregistered business. Now let's discuss about the export invoices. So export invoices is nothing but export of goods under the GST, means taking the goods out of India to a place outside of India. This can be illustrated with a simple example, like your company is just established in India, and you need to export your products to outside of India. So in such cases, we use export invoices, and we can apply a certain GST treatment. So here we will be considering the GST treatment as overseas and ensure that the customer is outside of India. So we are going to just export the customizable desk. So let me move on to the invoices, and let me consider the customer who has the GST treatment overseas. So I will be choosing the customer with the GST treatment overseas, and yeah, here ensure that the address is out of India. So let me change this. So the customer must be from any other country, and you can just set the state and all. So let me make little manipulation in my address. Okay, here you can provide the other details such as zip, and here you can just provide the city. So let's save. So we have just saved that, and we are just created a customer who is outside of India, and we need to export the product customizable desk, which has a price of 7,550 with a certain GST. So as you choose the export invoices, you need to apply a certain taxes such as exempt sale, or that can be nil rated, or that can be base GST, CGST, or base SGST, base cess, or GST, or IGST, or SGST. So here I'm going to choose the tax as exempt sale. Now you can save the changes in the invoice, and you can just confirm the invoice. And afterwards, as you just confirm the invoices, you can find the change under the GSTR1 report, and that is affected in the export invoices. Now we are going to discuss about the nil rated supplies. So nil rated supplies is nothing but in some cases we won't be applying any taxes for the product. So in such cases, we will be using nil rated supplies. For example, we may not be giving taxes for the salt. So in such cases, you can use the nil rated supplies. So here we will be considering the customer who has the GST treatment as unregistered with a tax of nil rated. So you can just move on to the customers and let's create a new invoice. Here we are going to create an invoice who has the unregistered business as the GST treatment, and I'm which using the product which is customizable desk, and it has a price of 50 with nil rated as the tax, which means we won't be applying any tax for this product. So let me confirm the invoice. Okay, and you can find the change under the GSTR1 report. Here you can find that we have just applied the nil rated supply. So it's very simple to handle the nil rated supplies in Odoo 16, and it's very easy to get the GSTR report of the sales, that is the outward supplies. Now, if you want to make any comparison of this sales report, you can get that with the previous period or same period with the last year, or you can use any other custom comparisons. And you can also use certain options such as include unposted entries, and you can also get the report of the generic tax report, group by account tax, group by tax accounts, or GSTR1 report or GSTR3. Now, you can also close this entry. Okay, you can, which means you can close the report. So in order to close the report, you can just go to the closing entry, and here you can find all the reports and that shows the journal items, and here you can find the account that is affecting, which is payable, and CGST is payable, and the tax current account is payable. So when you just get into the internal link of each of the account, you would be able to find that it's current liability, and you can find all other details like the debit and credit is happening in the account. As it's a payable amount, that will be under the debit side because it's a liability, and you can find the total amount over here, and the credit will be equal to the debit amount. And if you want to get the tax report, you can just get into the tax report smart tab, and that shows the report of the GST R1. Now let's move on to the draft entry. Yeah, now we are going to post this. So let's post the entry. So we have just posted the entry. So if you want to reverse the entry, you can reverse the entry, or you can also reset this into the draft. So when you just move on to the audit trail, you would be able to find all the activities that has taken place in the transaction. So you will get every details over there. Now we can also apply this in the log dates. So if you want to just set a log date for the tax return, you can set that. So ensure that you haven't set a future date. So I'm going to just log the taxes till the day. So you can just set the date of today, and you can save this, so that you cannot make any other changes in the taxes with the log date. Now you can only create or make any other changes with a tax with the future dates. Okay, so this is how we manage with the GSTR report in Odoo 16. So hope this concept is clear for you. As always, stay awesome, and we will be discussing GSTR 3B in another video. So thank you for watching the video.